Hello, everyone. Welcome to the course on Infant and Toddler Early Development Guidance. I am teacher Li Wendy. Today, we are going to talk about a particularly important topic: language development and learning support for infants aged 0 to 6 months. Some might ask, such a young baby, all they do is cry and eat. How can they have language? But in fact, these 6 months are precisely the golden foundation-laying period of infant language development. They progress from unconscious vocalization to responding to sounds, from understanding tone of voice to attempting interaction. Each step is laying the groundwork for future speech and communication. Next, let's clarify 3 core aspects together. The stage characteristics of language development in infants aged 0 to 6 months. The underlying development mechanisms, and how we as future early childhood teachers or parents can provide scientific support. First, let me give you a clear framework. First, the milestones of language development for infants aged 0 to 6 months. What happens each month? Second, why is this stage important? The neural and cognitive basis of language development. Third, what can we do? Specific learning support strategies. Many students might think, isn't infant language just speaking? Actually, infant language development starts from the first day of birth. It falls into the early stage of the pre-linguistic stage, 0 to 12 months. And 0 to 6 months is the critical period for sound exploration and the budding of social interaction. Let's look at the changes each month in detail. 0 to 1 month receiver of sound. Performance. Newborns mainly express needs through crying, such as hunger, sleepiness, or discomfort. But don't underestimate their listening. At birth, infants' hearing is already close to that of adults. They can distinguish their mother's voice. Research shows that infants only 24 hours old will listen more attentively to their mother's voice than to an unfamiliar female's voice. Key point. This is the starting point of language development. Auditory input is the foundation of language learning. The mother's gentle voice, heartbeat sound, are the most familiar language background sounds for them. 2 to 3 months, explorer of sound. Performance. Begin to produce simple vowels like o, ah, a. For example, after feeding, lying on the bed. Suddenly, make an a to sounds. They may also be startled by sudden loud noises, startle reflex, but will quiet down or turn their head to search for familiar sounds, like their mother's voice. Key point. This is the beginning of spontaneous vocalization. These unconscious sounds are the infant practicing their vocal organs, just like a little pianist trying out the keys. 4 to 5 months, the interactor of sound. Performance. Can produce more vowel combinations, like baba, mama. But these are meaningless at this stage. They smile upon hearing familiar sounds. Even giggle if an adult teases them by saying, "Baby, look here." They might respond with eye contact or vocalizations, such as making a sound like a. Key point. This is the budding of social vocalization. Infants begin to associate sounds with interaction. Oh, when I make a sound, adults respond. This is the foundation for future conversation. 6 months, imitator of sounds preliminary. Performance. Can clearly produce repeated syllables like baba, mama, dada, although most still lack specific reference. They respond to their name. For example, turning their head when their name is called. If an adult says, "Wow," in an exaggerated tone, they might imitate the action of opening their mouth or sticking out their tongue. Key point. This is the starting point of voice imitation. Infants begin to try to copy the sounds they hear, marking their shift from passive reception to active participation in language communication. Some students might wonder, these AO sounds, are they really related to future speech? The answer is absolutely related, and they are the cornerstone. From the perspective of neuroscience, the period from 0 to 6 months is the rapid development period of the language area in an infant's brain. At birth, the infant's brain already has basic neural connections in Broca's area, speech, and Wernicke's area, comprehension. But these need to be continuously strengthened through listening and interaction. For example, when listening to the mother speak, the language areas in the infant's brain activate, gradually distinguishing different speech sounds, such as the B and P sounds in Chinese. When adults interact with them using exaggerated intonation, infant-directed speech, infants pay more attention, promoting the development of auditory attention and speech sound sensitivity. From the perspective of cognitive development, at this stage, infants build an initial cognitive understanding of interpersonal relationships through sound. They discover that sounds can bring attention and responses, thus becoming more willing to vocalize actively. It can be said that the language development from 0 to 6 months is not only about learning to speak, but also about learning to socialize and learning trust. As future early childhood teachers or parents, we do not need to teach infants to speak, but rather to create a rich language environment to support their natural development. How to do this specifically? Remember 3 keywords: listen, respond, play. First, encourage more listening. Provide high-quality language input. The core is clear, rich, and emotional. How to do it? Talk to the infant every day. When changing diapers, say, "Baby, we're changing into a clean diaper now too." When feeding, say, "Ah, to open your mouth. Time to drink milk too." Use slow, exaggerated, infant-directed speech with a high-pitched tone and frequent pauses. Infants prefer this. You can also play soft children's songs or lullabies hummed by the mother, but avoid playing recordings for long periods. Real human voices have more warmth. Note: avoid excessive background noise, such as having the TV on all the time. Infants need to focus on listening to human voices. Second, respond promptly. Let the baby feel that my voice is meaningful. The core is two-way interaction. How to do it? When the infant makes sounds like ah-to or o-to, immediately respond using a similar tone. For example, if they say a-to, you say a to baby is talking. If they respond to their name, you can say with a smile, "Yes, it's baby's name, looking for mommy too." This kind of conversational interaction helps the infant understand. I make a sound, someone responds, I am willing to continue making sounds. Key: when responding, look into the infant's eyes. Use exaggerated facial expressions and gestures. For example, point to their little mouth and say, "It's making sounds here," enhancing the fun of the interaction. Third, use play to encourage vocalization. The core is gamification. What are some classic games? Peek-a-boo. Cover your face with your hands and then open them, while saying meow to "Where's the baby?" Wow! Found the baby too. Combining sound and surprised expressions stimulates the desire to vocalize. Imitation game. When the infant sticks out their tongue, you do too. They make a baba sound, you repeat it. But don't force it. Follow their rhythm. Touch plus sound. Gently tickle the sole of their foot. Saying giggle giggle to tickle tickle too. Observe if they make more sounds due to happiness. Students. The language development of infants aged 0 to 6 months is not about teaching to talk, but rather using love and response to accompany them as they explore the world of sound. Every ah-ah-oh-oh sound is their first step into the world. Every time we listen and respond, we are paving the way for the future language explosion period after 1 year old. As future educators or parents, please remember, the best language support is to squat down. Speak to the infant in a gentle voice, letting them know, my voice is heard. That's all for today's sharing. Thank you, everyone. In the next class, we will further explore the key points of cognitive support and development for infants aged 0 to 6 months.